Welcome to Conversations on the Coast, the Bay Area's premier author interview program. And today we are going to talk about a book with a kind of different title. The title of the book is Kick-Ass Fairy, subtitle A Memoir. The author who's joined us is the wonderful Linda Zercoe, and it's published by Hidden Oak Press. Welcome and thanks for stopping by.
Hi, thank you.
Kick-Ass Fairy. Where did that come from?
Well, actually, it's in the epilogue of the book. And I realized as I was writing the book and had the moment that I write about in the epilogue that I've always been a kick-ass fairy.
That's you from
the get-go.
When you started to now.
Pretty much, yeah.
One of those.
Yeah, but there's reasons in the book.
I'll be very careful during this interview, lest I get kicked. But probably you can't do it because you're injured.
That's correct. I'm in the moment recovering from a broken leg. So I kicked one too many asses.
You kicked somebody practicing to kick me, and here you are with a big thing on your leg.
Right. No, I actually tripped.
All right. Okay. Well, besides being the kick-ass fairy, Linda has been many things. She's been an RN in patient care settings, a CPA working in the financial industry in the Trade Center in New York, as a matter of fact.
And here, too.
Yeah. But by far, it says, your longest career has been as a cancer warrior. Mm-hmm. And you've really fought the fight. You've battled 5 different types of cancer for 2 decades. You're a motivating and inspiring advocate, a cancer activist, and a caregiver. You live in California, right across the bay. And tell us what a cancer warrior is.
Well,
I mean, is that an official thing or just...
You know, it's kind of the metaphor that I chose. There's a lot of controversy around using the term warrior when it comes to cancer. But, for me, it depicted a fighter. I started this battle in 1993, so we weren't talking as much about metaphors and politically correct terminology at that time. But I saw myself as a fighter, and I needed to be a fighter.
Well, and you're also using that title very well. I mean, it's your history.
Yes.
I mean, for a lot of different reasons that happened to you in the course of having cancer and having treatment.
Yes.
Some of which treatment was nuts. Right. So, okay, welcome, warrior. Sorry you're wounded. Though the main focus of the book is this battle with cancer, what pleases me about the book is that it has a lot of other stuff as well. For example, it goes back to your life before cancer, before your current marriage and family, to a time when you were married to another man, a fellow by the name of Dave. Mm-hmm. And you lost him to a horrible accident in which he was electrocuted. And there you are at, what age was this?
I was 26.
26, a widow with a baby daughter.
Toddler.
Yeah. And somehow, and this I want to ask you about because my daughter tried to get into the University of Virginia very unsuccessfully. Uh-huh. And you got in there. Yeah, I did. Shocking. I was shocked that I got in. I actually applied to UNC and the University of Virginia. But I applied as an RN into their RN school, and I think that might have helped me get in at the time. But you didn't go there as an RN. You went there.
No, I was already an RN.
I mean, you were an RN. But
right. And then, of course, I had the story of becoming a widow in my essay, and that probably helped, too. Maybe I was a good writer then.
Well, you're a good one now.
Thank you. But, that was a long time. That was a long time ago.
Yeah. But you did not go there in the School of Nursing.
I did. I
started. Oh, you started in the school.
Yes, I started as a baccalaureate candidate in the School of Nursing, already being an RN, which allowed me to challenge their courses, meaning I would get the syllabus, take all the exams, read as much as I needed to do, and I started doing that, and I did that for a whole summer and passed everything, and while I was a single mom. But then once I started taking the nursing classes at their school, I'm like, why am I doing this? And I needed to do something else. I couldn't make enough money as a nurse at the time, and I was ready to do something else.
And so you switched to the School of Business.
I did.
At the University of Virginia. Mm-hmm. You enrolled in personal investing?
Well, that was one of the classes.
That was one of the classes. Okay.
Yeah. Right. I took it as an elective.
Let's go ahead in your life. In August of 87, 4 years after your husband's death, you have, I would say, arrived. You are an auditor working on the 93rd floor of the World Trade Center in New York, and you're 30 years old.
Yes, and a single mom.
And just going through those facts about your history, it makes it very clear to me why you deserve the title warrior. Because a lot of other people would have, gone on welfare or something like that. And here you are, broken leg and all.
I was on top of the world.
Yes, you were. 93 floors up. When we come back, I want to spend a little more time on this background, but then really get to the meat. One of the more positive developments in cancer treatment, I think, is the existence of support groups. And we'll talk about them when we return.
You're listening to Conversations on the Coast with Jim Foster. Now you can find this program on iTunes, SoundCloud, and all your favorite digital outlets. Follow the show on Twitter at JimFosterCoc and email JimFosterCoc@gmail.com.
We have a warrior with us today. She's here to talk about her book called A Kick-Ass Fairy. The warrior's name is Linda Zercoe. A book is published by Hidden Oaks Press. And a fellow who does some wonderful work on television, a guy by the name of Ken Burns, has some good things to say about the book. He says, in part, into each life, some suffering comes. But Linda Zercoe has faced with bravery and hope more than her share, leaving the rest of us an awe-inspiring journey of perseverance and grit. More than your share, I'll say. We look at one of the things in the book points out on, we're in April of 2001, and you summarize at that point some of the things you'd gone through by that point. 14 surgeries you've had since 1993. And 4 body parts removed for a total of 11. But at that point, you're actively participating in the renovation of your own home. I found that one of the most remarkable parts about your story. You never stop. And here you got contractors running around, renovating your home, and you're going around with a bucket of paint after or before them, making sure that the colors on the walls are exactly what you want them to be.
That's correct.
This is why some people in your life have called you a control freak.
Well, you deal with it the best you can.
But that's, I think, Burns is right. You've had more than your fair share, and that timeline is rather early in the story. There's still a lot to come after that. And I want to talk more about the wellness community, but before we do that, I want to pause. For you to read from the book, but not any of the cancer stuff, not the if you will, the down part, the sad part, the tough part. Talk about something pleasant like strolling on the campus at UVA.
Okay. So this is from Chapter 6. It's called A Cavalier, and it's from 1985 to 1987. My new life began while I was crossing McCormick Road after getting off the campus bus between Brown College and Monroe Hall. Just like Dorothy's landing in Oz, in one instant the world became living color again. It was spring of 1985, a non-particular day, late in the morning, more than a year and a half after Dave had died. Looking around, I noticed the light that sparkled through the canopy of old-growth trees. Everything was illuminated. While shielding my eyes, I could hear the birds singing and the wind rustling the new leaves in the trees. There were beautiful flowering trees all around me, dogwoods, pears, cherries, and magnolias. I hadn't realized that I'd lost the brilliance of my senses for so long, but I was happy for their return. I continued walking toward the central grounds at the University of Virginia. The distinctive, sharp green smell of the boxwoods permeated the air. I inhaled deeply. Having a bit of time before class, I sat down on a bench on the lawn. I looked left up the lawn toward the far end where the rotunda stood, panning right, where 5 of the pavilions and the many lawn rooms cascading down each side of the great expanse of grass. I had read that the rotunda, designed by UVA's founder, Thomas Jefferson, was the cranium, the brain. Back in the early days of the college, it housed the library, the repository of accumulated knowledge. As in the beginning, the upper floors of the pavilions were living quarters for some of the professors. The lower floors were originally the classrooms. The lawn rooms in between the architecturally distinct pavilions were for fourth-year students who had applied and were deemed worthy by nature of their leadership skills and contributions to the school. Living on the lawn was considered an honor, even though it meant doing without heat or running water. The University of Virginia was all about tradition and honor. Behind the 5 pavilions on each side of the lawn, there were the gardens, each unique, flanked by high serpentine brick walls, which were tended by garden societies and clubs. Beyond the gardens were the range rooms for more students, one of which had hosted Edgar Allan Poe as its resident. This was Jefferson's academical village, and as of that moment, I was really there.
It's almost complete except for a mint julep. That's wonderful. I mean, it is. That campus is like that. It's absolutely gorgeous, beautiful, and always well tended and taken care of.
Yes.
Everything in place, exactly where it should be. The group, one of the groups that you got involved with, what I think are called support groups relative to cancer victims, is called the Wellness Community. The Wellness Community. That's here in the Bay Area, perhaps other places as well. And the thing of it was that the group's demographics ran the gamut. You're right. All types of cancer were represented, and the average age was probably the late 60s. I learned so much from these people. I was so impressed with their humor, their courageous spirits, and knowledge of alternative treatments. But most important, I was inspired by their hope.
Yes.
I don't see how anybody could make it without a group like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people didn't used to. And now it's called the Cancer Support Communities. They merged with Gilda Radner's groups.
Yes.
So it's more nationwide, which is really great. But it's a place, like most support groups, where you go and people really understand what you're going through because they're going through it themselves. And you can talk freely, and there's no censorship, and there's lots of tears and sharing and great support.
Are there a lot of suggestions on how to get along, how to handle the cancer?
I think there's not a lot of judgment. I think that there's a lot of freedom to be who you are, but you learn a lot just by osmosis and how other people are doing things. And then there's touch, there's eye contact, You become a family. It's very nice. Beautiful people.
Well, when we come back, I want to focus on your family.
Okay.
Because I think that's one of the most important parts of the book.
Okay.
We'll be back.
You're listening to Conversations on the Coast with Jim Foster. Now you can find this program on iTunes, SoundCloud, and all your favorite digital outlets. Follow the show on Twitter at JimFosterCoc and email JimFosterCoc@gmail.com.
A Kick-Ass Fairy. That's the name of the book we're talking about today with the author, Linda Zercoe. A very fine author whom we interviewed on this show many, many years ago. Jean Shinoda Bolin has this to say about Linda's book. Linda Zercoe describes herself as a Cancerian and a cancer warrior, and in her memoir, it becomes clear why these are fitting designations for a woman with a hard shell who is soft inside, like her astrological symbol. Yeah. You're all of that and more, my friend.
Thank you.
The thing that we need to talk about here, I think, is the fact that your story goes on. And, you're still with us, thank God. The other thing that I think is terribly important is that it's not just your story. It answers questions like, how does somebody, a mother with cancer, raise a daughter? How did you do that?
I raised a daughter and a son.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's out of love and commitment and putting your kids at the top of your list. A lot of my fight came from fighting to be there for them.
Okay.
And I think having experienced the death of my husband, I did not want either my daughter or my son or my second husband to experience the grief. So I did everything I could to be there for them and be a good mom to the best of my abilities.
At the same time, at moments that you were working for the Bank of America.
Yes.
In a challenging job.
Yes, I was.
You are a warrior.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. Now, one of the things that we were talking about off mic was the fact that the support groups that we were talking about in the last segment are now available online. Can you explain that?
Well, I think since the internet has become, kind of our go-to social place, there's a lot of support groups available online for things as specific as a particular disorder or a particular kind of cancer. Mm-hmm. And they're wonderful because you get perspectives from people from all over the world, and it's a commitment. But you make a lot of friends, and you learn a lot of international information. So that's something that people going through cancer should look for if there's not a local community group that they can join. I don't necessarily think it replaces the eye contact, the living hug, sitting close to somebody in a room. It's a nice thing to have as an adjunct, or if you can't find a local support group. It's important, though, to have support and community around what you're going through. One of the things that you talk about toward the end of the book, because I believe, if I remember this correctly, it involves your daughter, is something that I won't pronounce correctly. What is Lee-Fraumeni syndrome? It's Lee-Fraumeni syndrome. No, it's a syndrome that's named after two doctors, Dr. Lee, Dr. Fraumeni, who discovered a genetic mutation that is what's called an autosomal dominant mutation, which means that it's in every single cell of your body, in your DNA. So there's a gene. This is a strain of cancer? No. It's a mutation of the P53 gene, which is a mutation of the major tumor suppressor, it's called the guardian angel of the cell. Mm-hmm. So when you're born, every cell of your body has a pair of each of the 23 sets of genes. And within each gene, there's more pairs. But the P53 gene is mutated. So one's good, one's no good. And it makes you much more susceptible to getting cancer. Anywhere, everywhere. You can get it in any cell of your body.
And your daughter is in that state?
Yes. Every time I had a pregnancy, I had a 50% chance of passing it on. But I didn't know that at the time. And I don't know that it would necessarily matter, but yes. I don't know if either of my parents had it, because my dad had died, and my mom it's difficult to get her tested now. No. It could have happened at the moment of my conception, which is a real interesting issue of
There's a
fate.
thought.
Fate.
There's
right?
a thought.
Destiny.
Yeah. Did you have any particular audience in mind when you decided to do this book? Because
Really.
I don't think this book was easy to write.
No, but nothing worthwhile is easy, right? Yeah. No, not really. I wanted to write my story, and I wanted to make it real. I wanted to have it be a real story of a real person without any angle, really. Just a true story.
And what's next on the agenda for the Cancer Warrior?
Well, I have a couple of things planned, but they're not ready to be revealed.
Aha. Yeah. Well, read the papers. Look carefully. And watch out for the Warrior. Her book is all over the place, in local bookstores here in the Bay Area. And if you don't see it on the shelves, they'll be very happy to order it for you. Special order. And the reason they'll be happy is because it's such a fine book. The title, again, is A Kick-Ass Fairy. The author, Linda Zercoe. This has been Conversations on the Coast, and I'm Jim Foster.
Now you can find this program on iTunes, SoundCloud, and all your favorite digital outlets. Follow the show on Twitter at JimFosterCoc and email JimFosterCoc@gmail.com.